Hey, I'm Wes and welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to give you a tour of my shop. Now the reason I want to do this is because I have some very big and exciting changes that are going to be happening to my shop. And I just want to document what it looks like right now, so down the road I can go back and watch this video and reminisce about it. So this video is kind of more for me, but I'm gonna take you guys along. So I'm gonna get this out of the way right away because I know people are gonna ask me. My shop is 24 feet wide and it's 36 feet deep, and it's kind of too small. I know some guys have smaller shops, but for me, I wish it was bigger. But this was as big as I was allowed to build it without getting a minor variance from my municipality. So I think we'll start this tour off with the front of my shop, and we'll work all the way around the outside walls, and then we'll go into the middle and we'll talk about all these different tools and the way I have them laid out. So at the front of my shop here, I have a 10 by 10 garage door, and I really like this. I like having a big door because in the summertime, if you're working, it's nice to open it up and you can get a good breeze coming in, and it's nice to be able to look outside. And also I have a 7-foot wide enclosed trailer that I'm able to actually back straight into my shop if I need to, which is very nice. And beside my garage door, I have my rolling toolbox, and this is where I keep a lot of the tools that I don't use very often, like my mechanic type tools, like your screwdrivers and wrenches and stuff like that. So that's where I keep a lot of it. And I also have like some plumbing supplies in here and electrical supplies and things like that. So I'm not gonna show you what's in my drawers because you don't want to see what's in my drawers. And on top of my rolling toolbox, I have a little bench grinder that I use for mainly just sharpening my lawnmower blades. And next in the lineup, I have my electrical panel and a spot where I keep some random toolboxes that I don't really use. And beside that, I have a subwoofer for my speaker system that I have here. And on top of my fridge there, I have a Bluetooth receiver for the speakers, and I have the router for my Wi-Fi here in the shop. And then I have a fridge for my refreshments for when I get thirsty. It's kind of weird having my head in the bottom of the screen here. So up above my fridge is a compartment that's kind of hiding something that's ugly, and it's actually really noisy. And what it is, here, I'll open it up for you. Oh, it's Big Old Blue, Big Blue. That's an 80-gallon, 5-horsepower air compressor. It's hooked up to 220, and it's awfully loud. So I built an enclosure around it. I insulated the walls and everything with rock wool insulation, and it helps keep the sound down, but it's still pretty loud. When you come in through my man door on the left, you'll see I have this big 17-inch bandsaw. It's a Toolex, and I don't think they make these anymore. I haven't been able to find anything on the internet about it, but I bought this probably about a month and a half ago from an auction, and I don't know who owned it before me, but they didn't use it much. It looks brand new. It's a 2005 model, so it's getting old, but it works great and I love it. I think it has a 2-horse motor on it. Let me see here. Yep, it's a 2-horsepower motor, and it can resaw anything I throw through. I haven't had it bogged down yet on me. It's a great saw. And then beside my 17-inch bandsaw, I have a floor model drill press, and it's a Trademaster, and that's a brand I also believe is not around anymore, and I like it. It has a light on it. It's kind of cool. And yeah, plenty of power. You can change the speed by adjusting the belts in the top here. And yeah, it's a nice little drill press. I like it. And then next to the drill press, I have a 1-horsepower shaper, and I don't use this as a shaper. The shaper bits that I have for it, they kind of scare me. They're these great big round carbide things that spin around super fast. It just seems super dangerous to me. So I actually have a 1/2-inch chuck in here, and I'm able to put 1/2-inch router bits in it, and I really like using that as a router table. It works good. You can fine adjust the up and down motion by turning this lever here. And I was looking to buy a router lift for a router table, and then I saw this come up on Facebook, buy and sell, and it was a good deal, and I bought it. So if you're ever looking for a good router lift, look for a shaper. It's cast iron top, super heavy. You can just push on it all day long. It does not move, and it's awesome. And then I built my own little fence with this. because the guy who had it before me, he bought it used as well from some old man, and he didn't get a fence with it. So I just made one out of some plywood, and I added a 4-inch dust collector on here, and it sucks in all the chips. Like, there's no dust with this. It works really well. So I'm pretty happy with this setup I have. And then up on the wall here, I just have a simple cabinet that I made. I have a video on this. If you guys want to see that, just go look for it in my video catalog. And it's just a simple cabinet for storing my router bits. And then moving down, I have a rigid sander here. It's nice, it goes up and down, it spins, it sands things. A lot of people have these, you've probably seen them all over YouTube. And then beside that, I have this Craftex spindle sander. Now this rigid here is also a spindle sander as well. It has an attachment for it, but it's just handy to have another spindle sander all on its own. That way you're not fumbling with switching back and forth. It just kind of keeps the builds going along a lot quicker. And this is the corner I'm not overly proud of, and this is just where I kind of store a lot of my extra lighting I have for videos, and I have a little homemade teleprompter there that I made, and some ladders and more lights and things like that, and a sandblaster that I don't know if I'll ever use again, but I have it, so why not keep it? And then I just have some metalworking stuff. There is a welder that usually sits on top of that, but it belongs to my dad actually, and he has it at his house right now. And on the back wall, I have my miter saw station, and it's 15 feet long, has tons of storage, bunch of drawers in it. And I built this whole thing out of Baltic birch plywood, and then I used MDF for the top, and I also used MDF for the drawer fronts and the doors, and I put a water-based polyurethane on this, and it's been standing up really well. This shop's about 3 years old now, and it looks pretty much the day I made it, and I'm happy with it so far. So beside it, it has its own 1 horsepower dust collector, and I have my laser engraver right here, and you would have seen that in my last video. It is the Artura Laser Master 2 Pro. I really like it. I haven't really played with it too much yet, but I have some cool project ideas for this. So inside here, I just keep my routers in this one here with some pneumatic staplers and brad nailers underneath it. And then this is where I keep all my glues and epoxies and stuff like that. And then I have the miter saw itself, and this is a Dewalt 12-inch dual bevel compound miter saw. This is actually probably one of the first tools I ever bought. And then it has a light for it that I made that I can just swivel back and forth. And then in this cabinet beside it, I have some safety equipment. I have some laser levels underneath it. And then this is where I keep all my camera gear. Now I have to show you this because every once in a while I get a comment in my videos saying, "You're not storing a gun properly and that's illegal." Now that's not a real gun, that's just a pellet gun. In Canada, you have to have a license to own a firearm. I don't have a license, so I can only own a pellet gun that shoots 495 feet per second. And then above that, I have a warning sign for my daughter's future boyfriends, and it says, "Warning, do not touch my tools or my daughter." And then I have a gun underneath it so that they know I mean business. So if you're standing at the front of my shop looking in, this would be the right side. This is the right back corner of my shop. And this is where I keep all my clamps and stuff like that. And this is where I typically do a lot of my glue ups on this workbench. So my clamps are right here, real nice and close. It's built on a French cleat wall where I have like my chisels, my mallets, and I have a vacuum hose boom arm for when I'm doing my sanding. It keeps the hose up and out of the way. And then I have my drills right there with the charger above it and all my sanding stuff. And then I have some extra saw blades up there. And then up top is where I kind of keep just some extra fasteners and type of things like that, and some extra motors that I plan to use in some future projects. I have a plan, I'd like to make a big disc sander, so I got a wide variety of motors there that I could choose from. So here I have a steel cabinet that's screwed to the wall, and I have a lot of stuff in here, and it's mostly like fasteners and things like that. So what do I have here? I have hot glue, I got nails, all these down here are all different size nails. I have staples and staplers, rivets, and I have nuts and bolts, and a drawer for steel wool, and then I have a drawer full of hinges and miscellaneous stuff like that. Wall anchors, Tapcon, screws. biscuits and dowels, and a drawer for all my brad nails. So it's real nice and organized. I don't have to hunt through a messy drawer full of things. I can just open up the drawer and find what I need. This is probably one of the most overlooked things that you could have in your shop. Just having everything organized in drawers like this makes your building process go a lot quicker, especially if you're in the middle of a glue up and you need like an extra brad nail or another screw. You can just quickly go here, open up the drawer, grab a screw, and get back to it. And then here I have my hold on. What is this thing? And then right here I have a 2 horsepower Cyclone dust collector, and it is a Craftex. And I believe that's like the Canadian brand of like a Grizzly or something similar to that. They're all kind of the same, but Busy Bee Tools in Canada sells the Craftex brand. And yeah, it has a nice big canister on it and a nice big drum to collect all the chips. And I really like this. And so the way I have this plumbed up is I have a 6-inch main trunk that goes around, and then I have 4-inch drops off of it to all my tools. And up above my dust collector, I keep my lumber rack for all my maple that I had just recently bought at an auction. And I also keep my router sled for flattening slabs up there. And then beside my dust collector, I have my 16 by 32 drum sander. It's a Performax, and I just kind of keep it tucked in close to the wall, and when I need to use it, I pull it out and I hook the dust hose to it. And this is a great tool in the shop. If you don't have one of these, I recommend getting one. It speeds up your sanding process so much quicker. They're kind of pricey, but in my opinion, they're definitely worth it. And now we're back at the front of my shop next to my garage door. And this is where I have another lumber rack where I keep a lot of cherry and aromatic cedar, and there's some ash and oak and some really wide maple boards there. And it's just a variety of stuff. And up top, I just have a bunch of miscellaneous junk that I probably should go through and get rid of. And then down below, I have some storage for some sheet goods and some scrap pieces of wood. And this cart here, it's based off of the Wood Whisperer's lumber cart that he has. And it's hinged on the wall. And you can just pull this out, slide your sheets out, and then slide them back in. I like this way because if you didn't have it hinged, in order to get your sheet goods to slide out, you kind of have to leave 8 feet of open space available so that you can pull your sheets out. But here, it's really simple. You just kind of grab from here, pull out, grab your sheets, slide them back in. When you're done, and push it back. And in behind it, I actually store some cardboard and things like that I can lay out on my floor if I'm gonna be doing some spray painting and things like that. Just trying to keep my floor a little nicer looking and keep it clean. Okay, now let's move on to the tools that I have freestanding in the middle of the shop. In the middle and closer to the front of my shop, I have a cluster of 3 tools here. And I have my 13-inch Dewalt Planer. It still has the straight blades in it. I like to upgrade this to the helical head someday. And then next to it, I have a 6-inch General International jointer, and it also has just straight blades in it. I like to put in a helical head for it. And General International is not around anymore. I believe maybe 2 or 3 years ago, it could have been longer actually, they bellied up and they're no longer around. But fortunately, I am able to get aftermarket blades for this, so I'm very grateful for that. And then in front of it, I have a 14-inch Tulex bandsaw, and I use this pretty much just for doing curves and stuff. In my 17-inch bandsaw, it's only for doing resawing. And I have a 4-inch drop off of my dust collector, and it goes to the planer and the jointer, and I don't really have a way of hooking up dust collection to my bandsaw at the moment. So right now I just have to vacuum up after it. Now this is the heart of my shop, and it's probably one of the most controversial tools that I own. And it's a 3 horsepower professional saw stop with a 52-inch fence. I know a lot of people like them, a lot of people hate them. I don't know why you'd hate them. Maybe it's because of the price point and they're gouging you for the safety feature. I think it's well worth it. Aside from the safety feature, where you can't cut your fingers off on this, it's a really great saw. The fence is amazing, the power that it has, it's amazing. Just the internal mechanisms for how the blade raises and lowers and everything like that. It's a great saw, and you can't really put a price on your fingers. Like, I like my fingers, I wanna keep them, and a table saw is actually a pretty terrifying tool. So having that feature is really nice. Gives you another peace of mind that you can't really cut your fingers off. I've caught myself a few times knowing that I can't cut my fingers off on this. I have done some pretty risky moves that I normally wouldn't do on a normal table saw, and that's something I have to stop doing. So in behind it, I have an outfeed table that has some more storage in it, and it's kind of where I keep some table saw accessories and things like that. And then it has a bottom drawer on it where I keep a lot of miscellaneous power tools that I don't typically use very often, like a jigsaw type of thing. And then I also have a few things up on my ceiling that I should make note of. And the first one is an air cleaner. And it's a 1400 CFM Craftex air cleaner. It's hooked up to a remote that's by my door. And honestly, I forget a lot of the times to turn this thing on. It should actually be automatic. If it senses dust in the air, it should just kick on by itself. That would be a pretty cool feature. I'm not sure if more expensive models have that or not, but I think that would be a pretty cool invention. And then over there, I have a radiant heat tube heater. And in the wintertime, it does a really good job of keeping this place real nice and toasty. So that concludes the tour of my shop. I have some pretty exciting things that are gonna be happening here. I'm gonna keep that to myself for now. You guys are gonna have to wait. So if you wanna see those changes, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. And like always, we'll see you in the next one.